Hello! In this video I'm going to be talking about my song Los Angeles, which is the second track from my album Parting Ways. As you will have known if you've seen other ones of these videos or you've seen me live, Parting Ways is all about the death of my best friend, and all of the tracks are about grief or friendship or in some form or another. And I wanted to write a song that would instigate action, right, on the part of the listener. I do this a few times on this record. The first few songs I wrote, kind of inspired by this, for this record, were kind of pretty miserable, right? And I sort of didn't think it was really fair to just go, I am sad. Because what I wanted people to do was to appreciate what they have whilst they have it. And I kind of, something that occurred to me was that we had said, for our 40th birthdays, we were going to go to Los Angeles, right? We're massive Beach Boys fans, in fact, look at that. And Sinatra fans and stuff, and obviously LA is kind of where a lot of that happened. And so we planned to go, but we didn't go. My wife got pregnant, selfishly, and so we said we were going to go for our 50th birthdays, and obviously that is not, will not come to pass, right? Certainly on this celestial plane, anyway. I was like, well, that's a really good example of a thing that we didn't get around to doing. So I thought, I could write one of those sort of listy type songs where it's a list of things that we have done, but we didn't do that. In the hope that it would make people kind of go, oh, well, hey, you know, we said we were going to go to so-and-so, we should go to so-and-so. There's no one there, that was just theatre. Hope you enjoyed that. Now, my main memory of this song is this. I wrote it I can tell you right now, it was the 13th of February 2023, and I remember that because I just found a voice note of me recording the first strains of me trying to work out how the hell I was going to play it. But what I remember about it was this. My wife and my kids were going away for the night, and I was lecturing at Leeds Conservatoire. And I do a lot of one-to-ones at Leeds Conservatoire where I teach in songwriting, and the last student didn't show up, and they'd messaged me. So I was like, oh, I can go home early. But then I was like, I don't want to go home early because there's no one there, right? I didn't need to come home early. So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to use that time to write songs now. At this point, I was pretty deep into the process of writing and producing Parting Ways. And one of the things that's really difficult about being a songwriter, and other songwriters will maybe be able to attest to this, you spend 95% of your time going backwards. Meaning, actual creation is 5%, the rest of the time is finessing. So in other words, I could sit down right now and start something and have a great time, but then the next 5 sessions, really, I'd be going back to that and going, oh, okay, well that first verse is done now, so maybe now I need to work on a second verse. Okay, but now I need a middle A. You're building on pre-existing blocks. Those blocks are your 5%. The building on top of them is the other 95, right? Now I love that, I'm not complaining about that. However, it does get exhausting. So now and again, I play, and this is the term I always use, it's a snooker expression, a shot to nothing. I go, right, I've got a songwriting session now, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long I'm going to make it. And in that songwriting session, I am not allowed to do any work building on previous blocks. I'm just going to start a new tower. And I said to myself, and I don't know, I think I may have been talking to a student about it earlier that day. I think I went, right, I'm going to start and finish something tonight. I'm going to begin it. It's not going to have existed until this, I sit down, and it's going to be finished by the time I get home. And I sat and I played around on a piano at the Conservatoire and came up with the idea, and the lyrical idea came to me like then. And I heard a song that inspired this. Oh my God, what's it called? It's called Eve of Passing, and I heard it on the radio. Is that what it's called? That's not it. That's Walk Like an Egyptian. It's an odd choice, isn't it? Anyway, we're not going to worry ourselves about that. Eve of Parting, is that what it's called? Yes, it is called that. By John Hartford. Can you hear that? I'll hold it a bit closer. Listen to the vocal.
It's hard to think this eve of parting
Anyway, I loved it. I heard it on the radio, and it was one of those incredibly dangerous driving things where I was like, I have to Shazam that like now because it's absolutely perfect. And so did and found it, and then kind of have grown to love it since. But it had this very 1960s kind of descending acoustic guitar part. That's in 4. I changed mine to 3. So I kind of had the emotional tone of it already, of kind of what I wanted to do. And then, it's in C, we never got to Los Angeles. That just happened. I came up with the idea of we never got to Los Angeles and sang that, like, first off out the traps. And then it was a case of just listing other things we'd done. So I'd got that bit of music and had this. Yeah, I had the verse entirely and that main refrain. And so I was like, right, okay, perfect. I've got enough for this kind of like 40-minute session. So I went and got the train home, and the train journey home for me is about 22 minutes. And very often as a songwriter, I'll kind of go 22 minutes, right? In that time, you are going to do X. Very often it's like you're going to write the second verse, or you're going to finesse the first verse, whatever it is. But for this, I was like, right, first off, I am going to write a list of places that we did go. And then I'm going to try and write a rhyming couplet attached to each of those places, right? We never got to Los Angeles. Do you remember when we took the train to buy ourselves records to listen to? Well, that was about when we used to go to Stockport, again, glamorous, when we were teenagers, or go to Manchester's power clubs, right? So that was kind of a journey. And when we went to Spain and home again, we went on holiday to Spain, got absolutely hammered, with nothing to show for it but hangovers. We went for it. So we went to get drunk, but we went for it when we were there. I quite enjoyed that little play. And then we did go to America, and essentially all of these things are getting closer to Los Angeles. So then the third one was about when we went to New York. We got quite close on the other coast. Yeah, not Los Angeles, New York. Twins on twin towers in parallel before they fell. There's a photograph of me and Lee stood on top of the World Trade Center. And we were there almost exactly a year before 9/11 happened. And I remember seeing a photograph of it not long after Lee died and gone, it's kind of weird. It's sort of a weird level of responsibility being the only one still standing in this photograph. So yeah, that idea of twins in parallel before they fell, meaning before the towers fell and before, we were no longer a pair as well. And this all kind of just happened, this big long list thing, and I loved it. And then I got home and I picked up the guitar, which I'll sometimes do, rather than the piano, and each of the couplets just kind of worked in that place, and I interjected there, we never got to Los Angeles. The only thing that I wrote that I then changed was the middle section. There's an earlier version of this middle section somewhere, but I can't find it. And I wrote it so fast, I didn't even write it in my songwriting book. This is literally in like the notes on my phone. So I changed the middle section to the city of angels was calling our names, but we always thought we'd have time to drift through an airport and sing to the sky. We never got to Los Angeles. That bit. So the middle section then was added, and then the last one, the last verse, kind of was again very similar to how I do it in You Would Love This Song, the first track on Parting Ways. There is a like an essay question bit. Yeah, life did its thing and got in the way of holidays. We said we'd wait for rainy days, but they never came. So we never got to L.A. I was really excited about that idea, changing it to L.A. one of the times so that I could get the expectation that that hook was going to arrive, which is almost as good as a repetition, so that I could then resolve with it one after. A couple of things about the recording of this song, because I actually recorded the vocal, the guitars that night. In fact, I remember my wife and kids had gone away, and they'd taken the car, and I'd left all my mic stands in the back of the car from a show I'd done, the night before or something. So I had mics, but I had no stands. So I had to balance the microphone like on top of some cushions and stuff. It was pretty old school. But yeah, so I recorded the dual guitar. I really wanted to get that dual vocal sound. I find it incredibly intimate. So there's two vocals singing the same thing at the same time, but it's really hard. It doesn't work with my voice very, very well. It works with some people's beautifully. I had to work very, very hard to get it. So all the vocals, certainly in the verses, it's the same thing being sung in two different times, and they pound ever so slightly away. And it creates this very old-fashioned kind of sound that I love. So I was really, really pleased with it. It took bloody ages. In that other video, that other guy talking, I don't talk very much about chords, and I posted the first one of these videos, the one about You Would Love This Song, and that seems to be the thing that everyone's getting excited about. So I thought I'd do a little Harmony Dojo cut in. So Los Angeles is a fairly diatonic song. Diatonic meaning most of the chords feature notes that are in the scale of C, right? We're in C. All the white notes, dead easy. And the verse is really simple. It's that descending bass line, kind of Paco Bascan type thing. But then I go to the, which is pretty old-fashioned, but I'm cool with it. I don't mind. Fits the song. Then I go to a, so C, B over G, B flat 6, which kind of doubles as a C7, and then an F add 9 over A, which makes it a little less decisive, to a D minor 7, chord 2 minor 7, one of my faves, and that's pretty much the verse. Now, when I got to the middle section, sorry, Muppets just wandering around. When I got to the middle section, to delineate that section, and this is a trick I use quite a lot, I give it its own kind of harmonic language. So I started introducing some more diatonic, non-diatonic chords, i.e. chords that feature notes that aren't in the scale. So the opening chord is that one. The city of angels was calling our name. We never thought we'd have time. So we always thought we'd have time. So that is like what? That's an E augmented with a G, with a flat. It's like a flat third in it as well. So it's got that. Oh. Now I knew that when I was hitting the note sky, that I wanted to hit that note. Now that is a note once, a very confident note. But the concept of the line is much more fanciful. I wanted it to almost kind of cut to this other universe, this other kind of, I don't know, this idea where we'd actually gone and it cut to us in the plane. Like that bit at the end of La La Land. You know, the bit at the end of La La Land? Not a film that I love, but the end where there's that moment where they imagine this whole world that may have been, but it didn't. And so the idea of going to a chord, a note 1, the sky. Well, I knew that was the note I wanted to sing, so I had to try and create that with a chord underneath. The obvious choice of chord there is a chord 4, an F. And take to the sky. Or even, and this is too old-fashioned even for me, it's an F minor, which is a minor subdominant, which sucks. They're really old-fashioned. Teenagers bloody love them. I have no idea why. Take to the sky. Yeah, it feels like a silent movie, right? So anyway, I wanted to have the non-diatonism that that chord has got, and that chord has got an A flat in it. So I was like, I know what I could do. So I wanted to create something quite positive, because it would be quite happy. Imagine us on the plane, right? It'd be great. Sun coming in through the windows, you know? So I went for take to the sky. But we never got to Los Angeles. And then back into the verse chord to the middle section. The chord I went to there is an A flat major 9. So it's got that, it's got the C natural in, and it's got the G from the original key, but everything else, and it creates loads of tension for then, but we never got to Los Angeles. etc. There, some harmonic fun. Don't say I never give you out. Bye. Back to the other guy. In terms of recording though, there are two big moments in this. One of them was, I knew I wanted it to have ocean waves at the end to suggest that Los Angeles is still there and it's waiting for us just as much as we were waiting for it. And I needed these ocean waves sounds, and so I found some samples of them, and I was like, oh, these samples sound a bit crap. They don't sound very good. And then I remembered that I had a mate from school who was friends with Lee as well, called Daffy, and he works in LA, he works in the film industry, he's very successful, and I sort of said to him, you couldn't by any chance, if you're going anywhere near a beach in LA, could you just get some scratchy like phone recording or laptop recording of just the audio of ocean sounds, because then it's actually the LA ocean, and also we'll get that kind of weird scratchiness that you get where the wind kind of, you know, when you're recording on a little phone microphone, sorry. So they are actual Los Angeles waves at the end of the track, which I really love that as a kind of ending, and the fact that they're not perfectly recorded again creates that distance between me and those waves, which is kind of what I wanted to happen. So that was one great thing that happened when I was recording it. Oh, in fact, there was three. I think another one now. The other one was in the middle. That I knew that I was like, what would Jimmy Webb do? Like there, yeah. If it was like a Glenn Campbell record, and I could hear harmonicas, and in one moment, I went, oh, it'd be great if there was some harmonica. Oh wait, I've just got a harmonica. And then I remembered that I'd been given a harmonica as a gift by our friend Steve, who passed away not long before I was recording this. And weirdly, in the kind of turmoil of him passing away, I'd sort of forgotten he'd given it me as a gift. And I remembered this and then went, oh my God, this is a record about grief and friendship. This is a perfect instrument to use. And then this is all happening in like 1 second, because then the next thing was, oh, what if it's in the wrong key? It's not in the wrong key. He bought me a harmonica in C, and this song is in C. It was like, it just all happened at once. I am terrible at the harmonica I might add. There was a lot of editing that went on there. But there's harmonica in that middle section that works really well. And then the final thing that I want to talk about, because it's probably my favourite part of the record vocally, is at the end of that middle section, take to the sky. We never got to Los Angeles. And I do that big note. Now, when I did it originally, I just sort of sang it, I don't use the word normally, which suggests what I do now is affected, but I basically went, and the mics were open, like I was recording a vocal when I did it. I kind of went, oh, what if I sang this like Scott Walker would? I love early Scott Walker. And so I was like, right, let's just go for it. And I just did it. And the first two notes, that Los Angeles, and then Los Angeles, both of them were the first take. They were the Scott Walker take. And I really, really played around with like, is it too much? Is it sort of too over the top? But the more I listened to it and the more I got advice from people, the more people pointed that bit out as like their favourite bit. And singing it live, I adore singing that part of it live, because you can really lean in and out of the mic. It's a really big, long theatrical note. I can slow it down and sing and stuff. So yeah, Los Angeles. It's a lot of people's favourite song of mine, I will say that. Yeah, there you go. Los Angeles is, of course, available on Spotify. Just look for me on Spotify or Apple Music or reneal.com where you can get on the CD and stuff. Hope you've enjoyed this quite nerdy video. Bye!